Right, this is a food technology coursework piece, AQA. Task title set by the exam board, but often the pupils will get a choice of which one they want to do. They look at a plan of what they need to be doing, who's it aimed at, where, what, when, why, the usual means of analysing it. They've done some research onto healthy diet, and they've summarised the research. A survey of their target market's likes and dislikes, and the target market is usually teenagers, but it can be aimed at people with special dietary needs, it can be aimed at the disabled, it can be aimed at whoever you want really. Then there's some graphical evidence of what the survey suggested, a summary of what the surveys involved, then again more analysis, the types of food that can be used and why, additional survey information with results there, so the examiner can see quite clearly that you understand what the actual results are of the survey, and it's actually done something constructive, looking at calorie content of foods, being aware of the role of fat and fibre and sugar and salt in the diet, and what happens if you have too much of one thing, looking at what's in the newspaper at the time, making it as topical as we possibly can be, the Mail Online, chocolate bar survey, stuff that's in the Sun, that's on YouTube, anything really that shows that you've done some research and you understand, you investigated the context. This is nutrition that teenagers need. They have to look at different cooking methods as part of their research, so they have an idea of how things can be made, how things are made. Go to Morrison's, do some research from Morrison's. Often we take pupils along to these places and they interview the manager, and that helps them identify their target market and what their likes and dislikes are. They have to look at existing products. In this case it's Cocoa Pops, which is not particularly healthy, but it's important that the actual student understands why they're not healthy and what it is about it that's not appropriate. Looking at existing products that may well be healthy and explaining their advantages and disadvantages. Again, further advantages and disadvantages of typical products that teenagers might eat. They have to look at environmental issues, trying to use as little material as possible, trying to use cooking procedures that use as little energy as possible, identifying products and doing an analysis of using the headings: attractive, is it colourful, is it tasty, nutritious, easy to prepare, cost, number of servings, etc. They get a thorough understanding of what's on the market and why it's on the market, looking in particular at some things in more detail, and then producing a specification. Now this specification happens to be in sort of bubble writing in that sort of format. It could be a list, it doesn't really matter, but you need to know what your product needs to do and not do and why, and it must come from your research. Generating ideas, so these are all possible ideas that they could have, and they're giving them a score against their specification. They've done some, at this moment in time, they've actually done some cooking of those ideas, and they've written up what they think and what they like and dislike about it. So within this section we've missed off the actual evidence of food practical, but there's a lot of food practical there. You can see they've got to do trialling and testing, and there's a standard layout there, evaluating the idea, evaluation against the specification, client feedback, further development work. These are all typical things you would do for a GCSE piece of coursework. There is quite a lot of repetitiveness here, but that's just the nature of what they're looking for. This is the equivalent of resistant materials doing a number of ideas in sketch form. As it's a foods course, then their ideas are in food with recipes. So it looks at carrot cake, all the things that they've identified. These are evidence that they've actually made the product and what was involved. Not all of them have got photographs, it's not essential, but usually they've got photographs to show that it was actually produced. And then sort of final work, do some extended research looking in particular at things that they're then interested in. They've now gone back to, well, what's on the market that's connected to things I've already made that I like doing. They've done some extended research looking at presentation, looking at colours, looking at garnishes now, not just the actual thing itself, how it can be presented, and developing the proposal. So what are they actually going to do to improve it? evidence that they've actually costed the actual product, some nutritional information there from the computer, so they've actually put the ingredients onto a computer program, and then that has produced the amount of energy, protein, carbohydrate, sugars and so on. They can show that they've actually developed it and they've made it healthier. Evaluation against specification. Baked strawberry cheesecake is what they're going for, that's the development work. Testing it. Summary of what they're doing. Details of the final product. And the final product evaluation. So they're doing a final cook as well. What ingredients and why. How the thing's manufactured in quantity. Some reference to that. Obviously health and safety is important. More details about manufacturing. Final production specification. There's an element of planning. Now this has been reduced now, but that's more than enough by way of planning to show that they can actually put their practical work in order so that it comes out to a satisfactory standard. Certainly it mentions quality assurance and quality control and health and safety, and this is the final product. As you can see, it is beautifully made and nicely presented. Baked cheesecake. Something to do with packaging. It may well be that they do a little bit more work on packaging depending on what's involved and what level they're at, and then an evaluation at the end. This can be handwritten as this one is, or it could quite easily be typed up. It depends what facilities the students got, but they can score equally well even with it being handwritten. It doesn't have to be typed up, and that's the basic project. Now there's an example here now of some other GCSE products, and you can see there's a wide range, savoury and sweet. These have all been done for GCSE food at a variety of different levels. They're not by any means all A or A star grade, but presentation's important. You can see the trouble they've gone to with the garnish on that one. Pizzas, that would be for a C grade project probably. With this particular one, they've made the curry, they've made the bread, they've spent a lot of time presenting it, so that's going to be sort of a B, A grade project. As after a period of development work. This one's a cake, but obviously it's a lot of fruit built into it, and it's used wholemeal flour, so it's a lot healthier and reduced the amount of sugar. It still looks delicious. This one will be a pudding, and again they've gone to a lot of trouble to try and make the product industry standard. Here's an example of someone making their own pasta. We have the facility for pupils to make their own pasta, which means they'll get a higher grade. And then this gives you a flavour of the sort of thing, if you'll excuse the pun, that's involved in GCSE food, AQA board.